First of all, a warm welcome to the officer, your personal mentor. And today's session, we are going to discuss here the how sociology emerged into the Europe. Basically, this session will be a bilingual English and Marathi because a lot many students are from the outside of Maharashtra, which also willing to join this batch and try to understand how sociology can play an important role into their success in this whole journey of the UPSC. Okay, as well as there are some students who preparing for the MPSC from English language, or that's why we are going to conduct this session into the English as well as into the Marathi. Okay, yeah. So let's start with the basic thing that in this session we are going to try to understand how sociology emerged. Sociology is one of the very modern social science, and in the 19th century itself, this social science emerged. If we compare with the philosophy, then compare with the history, political science, then economics, all these sciences are very much older one, very much having a long past, long tradition. But whereas sociology is a very modern social science. And sociology also studies the modern society itself. Okay, our complete focus is upon the modern society. But let me tell you here that to understand, though the sociology is a modern science and it studies the modern society, but again, to understand how sociology emerged, we have to go to the history, okay, to the past of European society. Okay, and that thing we are going to study here. Folks, the birth of sociology in Europe. The thinkers like Ritzer, he says, sociology is the child of age of revolutions. What does it mean by that? In Europe, from 14th century onwards, started various revolutions, and because of these revolutions, the various social changes took place, and to understand, to analyze, to study all these social changes, the emergence of sociology happened there. So, child of age of revolution. So, what is the age of revolution? The age of revolution is the largely a time period between the 14th century to the 19th century. This is the time period of age of revolution. And during this time period, a lot many revolutions took place, which led to the various social changes, and these social changes later on started to study by the sociology. That is the a basic contour, a basic snapshot of the whole process. Let me tell you what type of revolutions took place during this time from the 14th to 19th century in the Europe. See, before the a contemporary modern society, modern European society, that Europe was a medieval. Europe was a medieval, and here the medieval Europe largely existed in the Europe from the 6th century to the 6th century AD to the 14th century AD. And then from this medieval type of Europe, which is a traditional Europe, okay, the changes started to take place with the first revolution took place here in this time in the 14th century in the form of Renaissance. And this Renaissance was having or constituted by the two revolutions. One, the commercial revolution. The first revolution was a commercial revolution, and the second revolution was a scientific revolution. Scientific revolution. And by combining all these two revolutions, okay, their mark, or by combining these two revolutions, the thinker said this is the time of Renaissance. So during the time of Renaissance, two revolutions took place. One is a commercial revolution and another is a scientific revolution. This happened between the time period of 14th to largely 16th century AD. Okay, then another revolution took place, and that was the revolution of ideas. That was the revolution of idea. This is the Enlightenment. Enlightenment. Enlightenment is the revolution of idea. And during this time, a lot many new thinkers, they revolutionized the whole society through their ideas. Rousseau, then Locke, Hobbes. Okay, basically the Hobbes is the first one. Hobbes, Locke, Rousseau, Adam Smith, Voltaire, Montesquieu, Mary Wollstonecraft, and many more thinkers were there who propounded their ideas in a very revolutionary manner. Why it is called revolution, I will discuss it later on. But first of all, we will discuss here. This actually span from the 17th century to the 19th century. The time period of Enlightenment or the revolution of ideas was spanning from the 17th to 19th century. Then next revolution took place. That was the French Revolution. French Revolution. This happened in 1789. So 1789 AD was the time when the French Revolution started, and this was the political revolution. One another revolution took place before just the French Revolution, and it was the American Revolution. So which gave America a freedom. 13 colonies came together and they overthrown the power of British Empire. But for us, the important was French Revolution. And another revolution took place here during this time, and that was the Industrial Revolution. Industrial Revolution. Actually, this was the process which started in 1740, when 1740 to largely 1850 AD. So folks, from 1740 to 1850, this was a larger time period, okay, and this is only one revolution. So revolution means what? A sudden change. But Industrial Revolution is the only exception which took place for around for around 100 of years, and still it is get considered as a revolution. Why? Because it brought transformational social changes in the European society. And because of all these revolutions, okay, because of all these revolutions, the European society transformed from the traditional Europe to the modern Europe. Modern Europe. Okay, and this transformation took place started from 14th century, which continued up to the 20th century. 20th century. And this is around 5 to 600 years. Okay, all these revolutions keep continue to took place. But what happened? Every time, every revolution, okay, brought transformation within the society. So take the example here. A revolution is there, and revolution impacted over the society. Okay, impact on the society. It impacted always in a two manner. One is the negative impact and positive impact. So negative impact and positive impact. So every revolution brought social changes, impact on the society in a positive manner, in a negative manner. For example, scientific revolution, for example, commercial revolution, Enlightenment revolution, French Revolution, every revolution. And because of that, this European society was continuously exposed to the various radical changes which were literally absent before just few hundred years. Before the 14th century, no scientific innovation was there. Before 14th century, no new liberal ideas were there. Before 14th century, no new middle class, which was not producing but still surviving, was there. Everything was new. Everything was new. And not every time society accepts new thing in a very celebratory manner. Sometime, most of the time, society accept new things very cautiously. Most of the time, society resist new social changes. Yes, and that was the same phenomena happen during this time in the Europe. And that's why all these social changes forced various thinkers to think upon the same society but in a very different manner. And that is the background of emergence of sociology. Now we will discuss little bit about every social revolution, how it brought social changes in the Europe and how that led to the emergence of sociology. Okay, let's start. First revolution we will discuss here. But before that first revolution, we will discuss a little bit about the traditional Europe. The traditional Europe, that is the medieval Europe, was characterized by the feudalism. See, to understand that in medieval Europe now, you need to understand a little bit history. For example, around 6th or 7th century AD, in Europe, Roman Empire collapsed. Roman Empire collapsed. And when Roman Empire collapsed, there was no central powerful kingship. At that time, every machinery, every functionary and every feudal or any you can say that considered as a zamindar or bureaucrats or something, they themselves declared as a king. So for example, in India, okay, during the time of the feudalism, the machinery or the system was like that. सगळ्यात खाली राजा, मग त्याच्यावरती महाराजा, त्याच्यावरती राजाधिराज, आणि त्याच्यावरती मग पुन्हा कोण, सम्राट. ओके, सो हे काय आहे? सो राजा म्हणजे कोण घोषित केलं राजा स्वतःला? जे त्या दरबारामध्ये छोटे मोठे अधिकारी होते त्यांनी स्वतःला त्या प्रदेशात आपल्याला राजा म्हणून घोषित केलं. बट same happened in the Europe during the medieval time. And what happened? That every king means in reality feudal. Okay, every feudal, they started to control over the one specific part of the land. Say for example, one district, Pune district. Now here there is a one feudal, and who declared himself as a king means feudal. I am the boss. I will decide what will happen here and what will not happen here. Everybody has to take permission from me. Now onwards, I will control your life. And thus, what every feudal did? Every feudal closed the boundaries. When there was a one king, the whole empire was free to exchange their goods and services with each other. They used to move freely, but now every pocket, every piece of land got closed down. And because of that, because of this closed nature of the society, okay, that led to the dark age into the Europe. Now, what does mean by the dark age during this time? The dark age means because of this closed nature, no trade was possible. No exchange of ideas, a freely exchange of idea was possible. And when the trade stops and emergence or exchange of new ideas get stopped, at that time, what happens? Everything becomes local. Everything becomes local, and in this locality, now people get aware that what is going on around us, but they are not that much capable. They never become that much capable to analyze the reason behind it. The same thing happened during this time in Europe. For example, in Veda there is a one a shloka is there. Kupamanduka vritti. Kupamanduka vritti means what? Kupa manduk. Kup means विहीर, मंडूक means the बेडूक. ओके, त्या बेडकाला काय वाटतं की अरे आपल्या विहीर हेच सगळं विश्व आहे. अगदी तसंच झालं त्या युरोपमध्ये. Every district or every feudal when he closed down his own piece of land, ओके, त्याचा जे काही असेल प्रदेश त्याच्यावरती, त्या टेरिटरीवरती, रिजनवरती, तिथे काय झालं, तिथल्या लोकांना असं वाटायला लागलं की हेच आपलं जग आहे. ना कुठला बाहेरचा व्यापार आहे, ना कुठल्या प्रकारच्या बाहेरच्या आयडियाज येत आहेत. मग काय, मग तिथे जे काही लोक आहेत तेच सगळे शहाणे. बरं, त्यातून काही नवीन इनोव्हेशन नाहीये, त्यातून काही नवीन आयडिया जनरेट होत नाहीयेत, आणि त्यातून कुठल्याही प्रकारे लोकांना नवीन ज्ञान निर्माण करता येत नाहीये. म्हणजे या काळात कुठल्याही प्रकारे ज्ञानाचा नवा प्रकाश नाहीये. आणि जेव्हा ज्ञानाचा प्रकाश नाहीये तेव्हा काय असेल, मग ते अंधकार. दॅट्स वाय it is called as a dark age, because no new knowledge created during this time. And who was controlling? The feudal. The feudal was controlling with the help of pope. जसं आपल्याकडे ब्राह्मण्स असतात, ब्राह्मण आहेत, तसं तिथे पोप, आणि पोपच्या साथीने the feudal control everything, and the whole Europe divided into the small feudal regions. And every region was closed. And because of that, the Europe during this medieval time was underdeveloped, was backward. And who was developed during that time? We. India was accounting more than 25% of GDP of the world during this time. India was the leader at that time. Yes, but no problem. From 7th century onwards to the 13th and 14th century, the Europe was backward because it was into the dark age. And this keep continued. And the feudal and the pope keep continued exploiting the people. But the first dawn or first ray of hope emerged in the 14th century. Actually, what happened? What happened here? Suppose this is the Europe. Okay, here is a Africa, and suppose here is a India. This is a Middle East Asia, and here is a India. Now what happened here? In this time, in 14th century, the Constantinople or the Ottoman Empire emerged. आणि ऑटोमन एम्पायर जेव्हा तिथे आलं तेव्हा युरोपचा जो व्यापार आहे चीन आणि भारतासोबतचा तो बंद झाला, बंद झाला. मग त्यांना काय पर्याय येता, तर समुद्रातून सागरातून इकडे येणं. मग कोलंबस निघाला. त्याला असं वाटलं पृथ्वी गोल आहे, आपण सरळ गेलो तर आपण पोहोचू भारताकडे, चीनकडे. पण तो पोहोचला कुठे, अमेरिकेकडे. बरोबर आहे. मग कोलंबसला ती चूक कळली, याला वास्को द गामाला. मग त्याने काय केलं, त्याने आफ्रिकेला वळसा घातला, आणि आफ्रिकेला वळसा घालून मग तो भारताकडे आला. येते लक्षात. पहिल्यांदा, सो फर्स्ट टाइम हियर न्यू सी रूट्स फॉर द ट्रेड discovered by the Portuguese people, and this gave Philip for a new possibilities for the trade. And when traders they comes from the one society and visit another society, they never just trade with their goods and services, but they also carry their own ideas, their cultural ideas, है ना. And when the Vasco da Gama or other traders they visited India, they visited China, here first time they exposed to the another religion, to the another ideas, to the very different kind of society, and then they started to question it. अरे इथे तर सगळं वेगळंच आहे, मग आपल्याला जो पोप सांगायचा आपल्या देशामध्ये जे आहे मग ते काय आहे आणि हे काय आहे, मग हे वेगळं आहे का, मग हे वेगळं आहे तर मग हे वेगळं काय आहे, मग इथे लोक कशी राहतात, मग इथला राजा काय करतो, इथे लोकांना काय अधिकार आहेत, हे आपल्याकडे नाहीये. अँड इन दिस वे काय झालं, त्या मेंटॉस सारखं दिमाग की बत्ती जल गई, ट्यूबलाईट लागली. आणि आता हे सगळे ते काय करतायत, तर तो वास्को द गामा आपल्यापासून ब्लॅक पेपर मीन्स ही जस्ट नेव्हर कॅरीड हिमसेल्फ जस्ट अ ब्लॅक पेपर, बट ही ऑल्सो कॅरीड the liberal political system idea. Okay, liberal political ideas. He also carried with himself the new religious ideas, and then he shared those ideas with the fellow European people. Means what happened, because of the trade, because of the new routes, now European people exposed to the different culture, to the different ideas, and to the different set of values, and because of that they started to question upon the Pope. They started to question upon the king, the feudal. आणि हे पहिल्यांदाच इथे ते काय करतायत, त्यांना प्रश्न पडतात, अजून विचारत नाही आहेत ते. म्हणजे असं असतं ना की कोणी झोपलेलं आहे बघा, आणि ते झोपलेलं आहे आणि तो फक्त जागा होतोय, डोळे उघडले, आतापर्यंत झोपलेला आहे, अंधकारमय, डार्क एज, झोपलेला आहे, आता मात्र डोळे उघडतात. हे सगळं होतंय कुठे, या रेनेसामध्ये, ज्याला आपण पुनर्जागरण म्हणतो. हे रेनेसामध्ये हे होत आहे, हे सगळं ह्या ट्रेडमुळे सुरू झालं. आणि ट्रेडमुळे आणखी एक गोष्ट होते, ती म्हणजे काय, हिअर बिकॉज ऑफ द ट्रेड, वेन ट्रेड स्टार्टेड टू फ्लरिश, particularly Italy was the main center of the trade, and in this Italy, first of all, a new class emerged which was not working into the field, means agriculture, and which was not even ruling like a king or feudal or any bureaucrat. But these were the people who were earning so much money, and these were the traders, these were the mercantilists, these were the bankers, and these were the new middle class. And the middle class is that class which has enough to sustain, to fulfill their needs, and still it has a time with it. And when people have a time, then they start to think, think. That's why Descartes, he said, I think, therefore I am. And here this middle class people started to think, and when they started to think, they started to get question. And when they started to get question, automatically that question or those questions, yes, became a root cause behind the next revolution, that is the scientific revolution. That is the scientific revolution. Okay folks, that is the scientific revolution. So discovery of new sea routes, exchange of ideas, and rise of middle class happen here. During the scientific revolution, the reason takes center stage. Reason means, now here people started to ask the question. Basically not that in that much level, not into that much scale, but still they started to ask the question. First of all, they started to get question why this happened. Pope used to say that center is stationary and the sun revolves and evolves around the earth. But here, first time, the Kepler, the Galileo, Copernicus, all these scientists, they proved that no, a sun is a stationary and earth revolves and evolves around itself and around the sun. So here, Mona Lisa was the first painting, painted by the Leonardo da Vinci, which was the first human painting, which was forbidden before the Renaissance, before this Renaissance time or during the medieval era. Because Pope used to say that no, if you want to write something, then write about the God. If you want to paint something, then paint about the God. So God must be everywhere. You cannot go and just write about the human and paint about the human. But first time, the Leonardo da Vinci, he painted a human painting. That was revolutionary. And because of that, the European people started to get the question, hey, if Leonardo has painted the human painting, then now what will happen with the Leonardo? But nothing happened with the Leonardo. Now they started to get question. Then what the Pope said earlier, it was wrong? Yes, it was wrong, because nothing happened with the Leonardo da Vinci. So that was the revolutionary kind of a thing happened during this Renaissance. So a scientific revolution took place into the visual art, into the medicine, into the chemistry, into the all those navigation and the astronomy. everywhere, in every sector, the scientific revolution took place. This is the scientific revolution which started with the Galileo the Galilei, and which ended with the Newton. Yes, those revolutionary laws, discovery of law, which became a base for the newly emergence of the new natural sciences, physics, chemistry, biology. Now here, the scientists, basically, they started to discover the laws hidden into the nature, to understand how nature works. And thus, first time, the center of discussion, discovery, and knowledge was the nature, not the God. Scientific revolution. So scientific revolution gave a new methods of scientific investigation. The scientific revolution forced people to use their own brain, ask question, and then only accept truth as a truth. That is a rationality. So empiricism, rationality, all these are the characteristics of scientific revolution. But because of this, what happened? Religion, very impressively, very impeccably, started to lose its influence. Religion. And when religion started to lose its influence, the kingship started to become more and more powerful. King was started to become more and more powerful. But another revolution came here. Okay, another revolution came here, and that was the Reformation. During the Reformation, what happened? Martin Luther King, John Calvin, they openly criticized the Pope, because Pope used to exploit the people by using various superstitious methods. एकदा काय झालं, तो म्हणाला की तुमचं पाप तुम्हाला कमी करायचंय का, माझ्याकडे या, 100 रुपयाचा मी पास देतो, तुमचं 100 रुपयाचं पाप कमी होईल. तो म्हणाला, अरे तुझ्याकडे 1000 रुपये आहेत ना, दे ना 1000 रुपये, मी तुझं 1000 रुपयाचं पाप कमी करून देतो. आणि लोक जायची आणि द्यायची. पण हे सगळं दिसतंय कुणाला? मार्टिन ल्युथर किंग, जॉन केल्विन. दे सेड दिस इज नॉट द रियल ख्रिश्चॅनिटी. You people are exploiting the people, and that's why it is against the Christianity. We want reforms and we are making protest. आणि मग इथे जे प्रोटेस्ट करणारे होते त्यांच्यापासून आला प्रोटेस्टंट ख्रिश्चनिझम. दिस इज द प्रोटेस्टंट ख्रिश्चनिझम. आणि जे ट्रॅडिशनल होते ना, त्यांना म्हणतात कॅथोलिक ख्रिश्चनिझम. सो प्रोटेस्टंट अँड कॅथलिक. सो हिअर स्टार्टेड अ न्यू फॅक्शन, a tussle, a struggle within the Christianity, between the two sects, Catholic and Protestant. And again, this led to the another phenomena, that is the age of enlightenment, the age of reason, age of ideas, the revolution of ideas. During the enlightenment, now people started to openly criticize the king as well as the Pope. Now here, major focus was upon the king during the Enlightenment era. Hobbes, Locke, Rousseau, they said, king, you are not despotic. You are not the son of the God. You have been appointed by the people through the social contract. And that's why you must be accountable toward the people. You must be responsible for whatever your deeds are there, whatever your decisions are there. You must be accountable, you must be responsible. And people have authority, a right to dethrone you. And yes, Rousseau said, we need a democracy, because the kingship is no more a legitimate rule, because king always ruled over the people as a despotic. Despotic means कुणाचंही नियंत्रण नाही त्याच्यावर. And that's why Rousseau said we need democracy, a direct form of democracy. Voltaire, he said, we need a separation of power. Yes, a check and balance must be there. Yes, then Montesquieu, he said we need a freedom of speech, a freedom to profess our religion, a freedom to move freely, the freedom, equality, fraternity, all these values he propagated. Mary Wollstonecraft, she said, why only male have the privileges? Why women are living secondary life? She also need to be get her own right. So in this time, new ideas. Adam Smith came here, and Adam Smith said, state must avoid its interference from the economy. State is a political institution. Your job is regulation, maintaining law and order situation. Why you are interfering into the trade and the economy? Why? The trade, the economy, the market must be free, laissez-faire. Adam Smith. And all these new ideas, okay, lead immense changes. For example, because of the Enlightenment idea, French Revolution took place. French Revolution took place here. People came together and they overthrown the Bourbon family, the Bourbon king, King Louis XVI. And here, the French Revolution, this was the emergence, or this was the dawn of the new form of rule, that is the democracy. And here, democracy emerged. But in this revolution, because of this revolution of French Revolution, though positive changes happened, for example, democracy emerged. Second, human rights declaration was there. Fraternity, the world war, the fraternity and freedom and all these values. But at the same time, because of the French Revolution, what happened? Anarchy, a total lawlessness situation also emerged. From 1789 to 1792, the France or French society was experiencing bloodbath, anarchy, lawlessness. Everybody was free to kill anybody. There was no rule. There was no society. And because of this all negative impacts, okay, a thinker started to ask questions. Is this the society actually we want? Okay, is this the society which we have dreamed about? No, this is not that society. We don't want such type of a chaos. We don't such type of a bloodbath. We don't want. But this is happening here. At the same time, because of the new ideas, because of the new innovation, because of the scientific revolution, and because of the Enlightenment idea, like a free market, another revolution took place here, and that was the Industrial Revolution. Industrial Revolution changed the whole method and nature of production. People used to be work into the agriculture, and the land was the major mean of production. But now, because of the Industrial Revolution, what happened here? Now people are not working, but machines are working, machines are producing, and people are just merely helping the machines. Cities emerged. Previously, only rural society was there, but now Europe became urbanized. But though Industrial Revolution revolutionized the whole mode of and method of and amount of production, and it was necessary to feed the hungry European people, but at the same time, because of the Industrial Revolution, what happened? Slums emerged. Acute inequality emerged. Society divided into the two classes: haves, upper class; have-nots, lower class, workers. Workers, though they were working and producing, but were getting merely wages, okay? Very scanty wages. And because of this low wages, and why there were low wages? Because the capitalists used to exploit the workers, and that's workers forced to live into the slum. They were working for the 15 hours but getting pennies. That's why they forced to employ or to get their children out of the school and to send them into the factories. And here first time child labor system emerged. Women were working in a double shift. Yes, double shift means first during daytime they were working for 14 hours, 15 hours in the factories, and after that they were still working into the house, because they have to take care of everything at that time. So double shift, so her double exploitation, low wages. So every was there. Environmental problems emerged. Then law and order situation started to decapitated. Then the criminals, okay, the criminal gangsters, the crime increased, isolation increased, frustration, depression, suicide, everything started because of the Industrial Revolution. So all these revolutions brought positive changes, but at the same time it also brought negative changes into the European society. And thus to these all changes, okay, to these all changes, tell me what you are looking, okay, what you are noticing on the whiteboard, what you are noticing? Yes, you are noticing just a red dot. But what does it mean also by that? You are ignoring the whole white background. Means, see, this is the human mentality that because of the all these modernization process and all these revolutions, European society enjoying all the benefits of it. But thinkers, they just started to focus upon the negative impact, red dot. And thinkers, then these thinkers, they divided into their approach into the two categories. First, okay, first, counter reactionary thinkers, and second, progressivist thinkers. Counter reactionary thinker Louis de Bonald, Joseph de Maistre, and progressivist thinkers Auguste Comte, Spencer, Simon. Now, first of all, counter reactionary thinker Bonald and Maistre. They said if modernity is equal to chaos, modernity is equal to exploitation, modernity is equal to slum, modernity is equal to bloodbath, modernity is equal to lawlessness, modernity is equal to environmental problem, modernity means depression, modernity means suicide, then we don't want this modernity. We were happy during the medieval time. At least at that time, peace was there. We don't want suicide, we don't want depression, we don't want slum, we don't want exploitation. No. Just go back to the medieval time. Comte, Spencer and Simon said, no. Bonald ji, ऐसा नहीं होता है. When a change happens or change once occur, it never comes back to the previous stage. And second, Bonald ji, that modernity has not just, okay, all these social changes has not just brought negative impact, it has also brought positive impact. है ना? It impacted positively. So instead of discussing how we can go back to the medieval time, you should focus how we can understand all these changes, how we can analyze the background behind it, reason behind it, and how we can correct it. How we can correct it. And how we can create a new modern equitable society. And for that matter, Bonalji, we need to study the society. We need to study the positive and negative impact. And for that matter, Auguste Comte said, we should apply the scientific methods. During the scientific revolution, they have invented a new way, scientific methodology to explore new knowledge and knowledge. So Auguste Comte said, we will study this society by applying scientific methodology. Second, Herbert Spencer, he said, we will use evolutionary theory, जो Charles Darwin was innovated in the species, in his book of the species. Then the Charles Darwin said, in the living, in the biology or in the nature, everything has been evolved one stage to another stage, another stage to another stage. Herbert Spencer said, we also apply this evolutionary method to understand how European society has been changed. And third, Saint Simon, he said, we should apply the historical philosophy. Means to understand the today's society, we should go back to the history and try to find out the roots. So, here he propagated a scientific methodology. Herbert Spencer said we should use evolutionary theory to understand society, and Saint Simon, he said we should apply the historical methods philosophy. And through these attempts of these three and another thinkers, okay, when they started to same study but with a different perspective, through their combined effort, a new social science emerged, and that was the sociology. That was the sociology which we are studying today. So folks, this was the emergence of sociology. And then later on, Marx, Durkheim, Weber, all those other thinkers, they came and they developed sociology as an independent academic discipline. Okay, so this was the birth of sociology. So sociology, that's why it is called as a child of age of revolution, because during this age of revolution, a lot many social changes happen, and then thinkers felt a need to analyze the same society but with a different perspective by applying new scientific methodology. And when they tried it, they developed in this attempt a new social science, that is the sociology. Okay. Yes, thank you.
Thanks for watching. If you found this video valuable, don't forget to like, share and subscribe our channel. The Officer, your personal mentor.